If I had to choose one ASICS shoe from 2025 to be considered my top ASICS shoe of the year, I would struggle pretty bad with that, and that's because they have had so many great releases throughout the year. One of them that has really stood out to me so far is the ASICS Metaspeed Sky TOKYO. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Now if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of this video, but if you do so, I'd sure appreciate if you come back, watch the full thing when you get a sec, because I put a lot of time and effort into these videos. Now, quick disclaimers and disclosures. I didn't get sent this shoe for free, actually. I did purchase this shoe with my own money. That being said, I have received shoes from ASICS before in the past. Whenever I do receive shoes for the purpose of review, I'm not paid, I'm not given talk tracks, I'm not obligated to make content, and no one gets to watch the videos beforehand. All thoughts are always entirely my own. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the intended use of this shoe. Now, obviously, this is a super shoe. It is a marathon-oriented super shoe. So really, it is a shoe that is designed to go fast over 26.2 miles. But as we know, you can also use super shoes for really those moments where you want to go fast, whether that be a race or a big key workout in training. As such, that's how we're going to be discussing it today. Now, from a price standpoint, the shoe comes in at $270, I believe, which is kind of getting pretty steep. But that's kind of where the market has gone. We're getting shoeflation across the board. We're already starting to see some models that are coming out in 2026, and we know prices are going up pretty much across the board on every single brand, almost every single shoe. So unfortunately, it is what it is. $270 is kind of not the top tier price on the market right now, but it is still kind of up there. From a specs perspective, what we're looking at is 40 in the heel, 35 in the forefoot for a 5mm drop, and then 5.6 ounces, which is 159 grams. So this does put this on the lighter end, even for most super shoes. Really, really lightweight package, which is really, really nice, as I personally really prefer lightweight shoes. From a fit perspective, the fit is snug in the midfoot. I would say it fits true to size lengthwise. We have a pretty standard toe box. I wouldn't call it full wide, but you do have a decent room in the toe box, and then I would say a standard overall heel. If you are not sure on sizing in comparison to other ASICS models, you can also watch my comparison of this versus the Sky Paris from last year, as well as the Metaspeed Ray from this year. Now moving to the upper, I really, really like this upper. I liked the Motion Wrap 2.0 from the Paris as well, but I felt like it was a little bit baggy, wasn't quite dialed in, but I loved the breathability and lightweight feel of it. And they've really doubled down on that with Motion Wrap 3.0 here in the Tokyo. So you can see it's very, very airy. There are lots of holes there. You know, the shoe is cold in the winter if you're wearing it. I wore it today actually, and at least starting out with the sun down in the dark, it was very breathable, very chilly, and then as I got going, my feet obviously warmed up a little bit and it felt fine. But this is as breathable as pretty much any other super shoe on the market in my mind. It is a very race-oriented upper. You do have this really thin, flimsy tongue, which is probably the weak point of the shoe. It's not gusseted, and so it does bunch up a little bit. It's a little bit of a pain as you're putting it on, but once you get the shoe locked in, then I feel like it does a really good job and it doesn't really go anywhere from there. And then in the heel, they have stripped the heel back a little bit, so you still get some light cushion there, but you can see kind of around the ankle on the sides there and whatnot. There's really not much. So they really went like super lightweight with this. It looks like this is probably seamless, not 100%, but you know, very, very few seams. They probably pressure, I forget what they call it, but use heat and pressure to basically fuse these materials together. And it, you know, the upper is durable. Like, it holds up, it feels really, really light on foot, and I like it quite a bit. I find that the lockdown in the shoe is really, really good. Now, after 15 miles today, and it was a 15-mile progression run, so finishing at around my goal marathon pace of about 6:50 or so. My left foot, I do have a small blister on my second toe, so not the big toe, but the second toe. And that tells me that I probably was shifting forward a little bit, but while running, I didn't notice it. I felt very locked into the shoes, very dialed. Even coming around corners, I felt fine, really, really secure in that upper. Moving to the midsole, this is where it gets pretty fun. So we've got the FF Turbo Plus, I think, on top. FF Turbo Plus, I get their foams confused. The FF Turbo Plus is the PIBA-based super foam. It was in last year's super shoes from ASICS, and so now you have that top layer. It is going to be a little bit firmer, and then underneath that you have this new ATPU FF Leap, and this stuff is absolutely insane. It's soft and crazy bouncy, crazy responsive. I think it is the fastest foam, in my opinion, on the market. Even, you know, just with the Metaspeed Ray, that's full FF leap. When you have that full FF leap, it's a little bit chaotic. And I do think that they tuned it a little softer and squishier in the Ray versus in the Tokyo. The Tokyo, it's still very bouncy. It's still very aggressive, but it seems to be in a lot more stable format. And then the heel too is a little bit wider and it extends past the foot. So it gives you a little bit more stability in this year's model. And it kind of controls that foam a little bit more. The other thing is you do have a full carbon fiber plate, which actually follows kind of the orientation, I believe, of the foams. And so it sits kind of like there. And that snap, it gives you a good pop off the ground. It gives you a little bit more rigidity in the midsole, which then gives you that stability on top of that. So a little bit more in control than the Ray. Very fast. It's a top tier racing shoe. It's not the fastest on the market. Like there's a whole group with the R3, the Ray, the Pro Evo 2. Those are like your speed, and maybe even the Wave Rebellion Pro Low, like those are like your snappy, like your really snappy, pure speed, but you sacrifice in those types of shoes, generally some stability and whatnot. This is a really good balanced midsole, in my opinion, of speed and bounce, cushion, comfort, stability. So it's not the most stable shoe. I think there are more stable super shoes out there, right? Thinking of the CLO X1, no, the Rocket X3 from Hoka, and then also I think the New Balance SE Elite V5 and the Brooks Hyperion Elite 5. I think those three I would say are probably more stable than this, but it is still decently stable overall. But it's just a really bouncy, really fun ride underfoot. Now, ASICS grip. Moving to the outsole, we have that ASICS grip outsole. I have not run in like any crazy weather in these shoes. However, these are pretty squeaky. When I put them first put them on inside, like they're actively suctioning and gripping the ground. Like I have an LVP, I think it's called, flooring, and it's squeaky. I have to kind of try and tiptoe out of the house to not wake everyone up in the morning. Now, squeak is not a indicator necessarily of good grip, but I have really, really liked these, even turning the corner and whatnot, running on the track, running on the treadmill, running on the road, and I've run on all of those surfaces. You know, I do find it actively gripping. I feel like you can feel it. So I do think that the grip does a really good job, and I do think that even in a rainy marathon, it would still do a really good job. So I like what they did there with the ASICS grip. I think it holds its own really, really well. Now, as far as who is this shoe for, this is where I start to kind of wonder. I think if you liked the Metaspeed Paris, I don't know if you're going to like this, because I thought the Paris was a lot firmer. I thought the Paris was a lot more aggressive and less stable. So the Paris, like, although I recognized it was a really good shoe, it was very popular, the Tokyo is a no-brainer over the Paris for me, right? As someone who just, the Paris was a little bit too firm, maybe a little too aggressive for a full 26.2 miles. So this, but I think like, if you are someone who worries, like you're trying to find the balance of running as fast as you can for that marathon, you're going for the PR, but you're worried about taking some of the more aggressive options and blowing up, I think that this could be a really good option for you, because then this becomes, you know, this becomes like kind of that middle ground. For me, I'm thinking of like the Endorphin Speed 4, or not the Endorphin Pro 4 last year was kind of that for me, right? So if I wanted something where I could kind of have a balanced overall approach, that was my move. These I think are going to be kind of that for me this year, to the point where I am considering it for my marathon in Tokyo in 2026, because you know, I do worry about breakdown, and at least through 15 miles today at a roughly 7:40 pace average. So progressing from, you know, the first few were about 9 miles down to sub 7-minute miles. It felt comfortable at every single pace. I didn't feel like I was pressing. I didn't feel like slowing down in the shoe was an issue either. So anyway, just some final thoughts. Really, really like, again, what ASICS has done. It gets me really excited for the application of FF Leap in the future in other shoes. That's always like, sometimes a brand will come out with a new foam and then they just, it's almost like they forget that they have it, right? That should not be the case. I think from what I've seen kind of previews wise for coming in 2026 with things like the Superblast, even the Magic Speed 5, which I believe launches this December, like all of those are starting to integrate FF Leap, and I'm really excited for that because I do think, again, it is potentially the fastest foam on the market today. But anyway, if you watched this far, I sure appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what you enjoyed, what I could be doing better, and what questions you have about the shoes. On top of that, if you watched this far and you haven't hit the subscribe button, please consider doing that today, turning on notifications to get notified every time I drop a new video, and just leave a like, support how you can. I would really, really appreciate it. If you do want to support even further, you can use any of the affiliate links in the description below. I only have two. One is to Wallaco, so if you like running tights, running gear, right, they are some of the best running half tights in my opinion. I wore them today. I wear them for the large majority of my speed workouts. RadDad20 gets you 20% off at checkout. And then Fuel Goods, RadDad, using RadDad at checkout will get you 10% off, and it's running fuel. So, you know, most of the major running fuel brands are on there. So if you're going to be buying some gels, some electrolytes, some intra-race fuel anyway, consider using my affiliate link and using RadDad at checkout so that you get a 10% discount. And they also give you fuel points, which you can use for future discounts later as well. So anyway, we'll wrap up with a question as always, which is, what has been your super shoe of the year so far in 2025? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks everybody.